Well, let me address the issue of that somehow there are Republicans waiting to come out within these illegal aliens who are going to get a pathway to citizenship. Let me remind you all that the culture of Mexico is a culture of the mordida, the culture of the bribe. That is life and justice in Mexico, okay? There's also a cultural fatalism. Anyone who has ever studied Mexican folklore, Mexican music, knows that it's in their folk music, it's always somebody else's fault. My heart is broken. Linda Ronstadt's Canciones de mi Padre, if you read the words in there, my heart is bleeding because it's your fault. There's this victimization throughout the whole thing, throughout the culture, you know? And I'm sorry, if that is the culture that is being imported and not being assimilated or integrated as other cultures have been, because it's not. All you have to do is just go down into the east side of Houston or go over by Gulfton. How much integration is going on there? You know? I mean, the fact of the matter is that it is not a culture that gives itself to hard work. It is not a Protestant Puritan, pull your bootstraps on, pull yourself up by your bootstraps approach. There are many of us that have, but it's because we've been here generations, and because we have worked at it, and because we did not depend on Roosevelt and post-Roosevelt era government assistance. Folks, in 1988, in that election after the amnesty of 1986, George H. Bush, got fewer Hispanic votes. In fact, fewer Hispanic votes than Ronald Reagan did in 1984. How much did amnesty work there? The worst of Hispanic turnout has been for Bob Dole and Jack Kemp. They ran a poor, Dole ran a very, very poor campaign. Romney treated Texas like an ATM. When did he go down into the communities? I tell you folks, it is a ground game that will fix and that will help the GOP and the conservative causes. If the GOP, instead of giving Jerry Patterson money, would give it to the Tea Parties and let the Tea Parties get out there and organize, then you would see the growth of the conservative movement and the Republican Party. That's where it would happen. But no, we got to do it the old way. And we have to find Hispanic experts. I like that. Hispanic experts are always meeting with Priebus, you know, and giving him a plan of how to reach out to the Hispanic community. Well, why should that plan be any different than reaching out to the African American community or to the Anglo community? Why does it have to be different? Why does it have to be so targeted? Oh, because, I'll tell you why. Because they're not integrating. And if they're not integrating, then you got a bigger problem.
Hello again. I'm so enjoying this now that we're almost toward the end. I'm really getting used to it. I want to ask you all something. When we think of immigrants or illegal or alien, why do we just focus on Latinos, Mexicans?
We don't.
Oh, he did. Excuse me, I'm speaking. This is not part of your... We fixate on that because the media gives that attention to it. And you know what? This is interesting because Asians are hardworking people. They come to this country to seek opportunity. You would think that they would vote conservative. But guess what? In this last election, 76% voted for Obama. So if only Latinos are inside Democrats, what happened to the Asians? What happened is this rhetoric of hate that we have out there. We have confabulators in the news media that seek to portray the Republican Party as hating immigrants, Latinos, and now women. And we have to change that because we're not. We're a group of inclusive people for opportunity. Excuse me, I'm speaking. We are a group of opportunity, of prosperity, and we need to reach out to all those people that have many in body and one in mind. I don't care what you look like, but I care how you think. And if you think of loving this country, of protecting it, of creating prosperity, of not listening in on my telephone calls or not targeting me personally on my income taxes because I speak out against this administration, that's where our focus should be. We're here talking nickel and dime on this immigration issue instead of joining forces. Remember that multi-headed hydra that I told you about at the beginning? This is what we're creating. We are not unifying for America. We're breaking up our party in the interest of giving all those 70% plus votes to this administration and others who will come because we can't fix a problem like immigration. We need to look at it in the economic sense. Let's keep focused on the economic sense. Ask again how this immigration bill can help America, not what it can do for immigrants. How can it build the prosperity in our country? Because that's where we're failing. We are failing behind in our education. Here in Texas, we're passing good policies. Republicans need to get out there and talk about those policies that are graduating the more Latinos in the U.S. than ever, graduating more Asians than any other state, graduating more African Americans than any other place in the U.S. We have good policies here in Texas, but we're fixating on this immigration issue with this rhetoric that's tearing us apart. We need to focus on the good, focus on the benefits, focus on the prosperity. We are a young state. We have this ballooning young electorate that's about to change our state if we don't take the advice of people like us here for this immigration system. We need to fix it. And if you find a solution, call your U.S. representative and say, this is why I want this bill to fix America. Not this is why I hate this wording, I hate this. Find a solution with positive rhetoric, positive things, the things that built America in the first place. We're not in 1986 anymore with amnesty. We're in 2013 with a problem of 11 million. Fix it with positive solutions for our economy and for our country. Thank you.
God is our objective. The prophet is our leader. The Quran is our law. Jihad is our way. Dying in the way of God is our hope. That's another immigrant group. It's also an illegal alien group. There are other groups. They've come here to kill us. Some of them to make money, some to kill us. A gentleman named Adnan al-Shukri Juma has already brought in, as far as anyone knows, as far as the United States government thinks, because they put a $5 million reward on his head, has already brought nuclear material, and they believe a nuclear weapon, into the United States over our southern border, which is not secure. Now, let's put this in context. All of the things that have been talked about tonight remind me of something that a comedian named Red Fox said many, many years ago. He went into a room where there were people who didn't like him, and he said, "You don't like me because I'm black." But he said, come nuclear war, we're going to all be black and crisp. And if we don't seal the borders of this country, and first, it's the only thing I agree about with the other side. They've always said that, but they never meant it. But if we don't seal these borders first, and I don't care about any of these other issues, because we'll all be black and crisp. And that's the bottom line. This has already happened. This has already occurred. Are we going to secure the borders of this country? Are we going to stop terrorism? I'm going to make a statement. I don't care if it's on YouTube. I don't care if you tell whoever. I have photographs of the people who were in Boston who were blown all to pieces. I got a picture of a man, some of you in this room have seen these photos, of a man whose tibia is sticking out of his leg with no meat on it. I've got a picture of a young lady with arm missing. I've got pictures of people who are doing nothing but having fun. And we've been attacked. And I'll tell you who I blame as much as I blame the jihadists. I blame the people who starting right after that last amnesty did not close this border and did not secure our country. Every politician that sat in Washington since that day is guilty, as far as I'm concerned, as an accessory to homicide. You can sit on your butt and you can come up with every excuse that you want to come up with. But that doesn't take away the guilt of the people who did not secure this country. It's one of the key things that is promised or guaranteed in the Constitution. It is a basic duty of government to protect us, and that's not being done. I urge you to write your congressman. I ask you to let them know, and your senator know. I urge you very much to let them know to kill this bill. Fix our country's security first, then we can discuss the other things. Thank you.
Larry, shame on you. You're using the Obama tactic of never letting a good crisis go to waste in an amazing fashion. The Boston bombing had nothing to do with illegal immigration. Those people were admitted to the United States legally. One of them was a United States citizen through immigration. Had nothing to do with an unsecured border and had nothing to do with what we're talking about here tonight. It was certainly a failure of our government. It was certainly a failure of our government to communicate, to prioritize, and to do what it's supposed to do. But it has absolutely nothing to do with tonight, and you know it. Now, illegal immigration or immigration reform and border security are two completely separate issues, yet they're related very closely. They're intricately related. They must both be addressed at the same time. If you increase border security like we have done, not effectively, but we have increased border security, without creating a better legal system for people to come here illegally, you create situations like what we have in Mexico now, where instead of Joe Garcia just walking across the border because he wants a job here, he now has to pay a smuggler thousands and thousands of dollars to smuggle him into this country, where not only do they do that, but now they're held in a house here in Houston where they're forced to pay rent and pay off their bill, and they work for a construction company or they work for a restaurant chain here in Houston that has been known to be growing off of this trafficking of people. Human slavery is what we're talking about. People being forced into indentured servitude because we're not fixing our problems, because we're not addressing our problems. How much further do you want to kick the ball down the road? The Democrats do not want this bill to pass. The Democrats did not want the DREAM Act to pass. The Democrats want to use this issue as a wedge issue to split the Republican Party and to split people who would vote for the Republican Party away from it. It's obvious they didn't want it to pass. But all you have to do is look at the amendments that they tied to the DREAM Act back in 2010. They tied abortion on demand and don't ask, don't tell to the military. They wanted to make certain that not one single Republican would vote for that bill so that they could hang it around the Republican's neck. They don't want this bill to pass. They've rejected every Republican amendment that was offered in committees, good amendments that would strengthen the bill, like Marco Rubio has asked that we do, that we fix this bill. They don't want this to pass. They want to use it as an issue to keep your voters away from you. They don't care. It's a carrot that they dangle in front of the Hispanic community to say, we're taking care of you, and those bad Republicans are blocking it, when they have no intention of passing it. We need to fix our problems and not worry about who's going to vote for who. Fix it because it's the right thing to do. If we're not attracting the Hispanic vote, if we're not attracting the Latino vote, if we're not attracting the black vote, if we're not attracting the youth vote, if we're not attracting the single female vote, it's because we're not doing the job of marketing our ideas in the battlefield of ideas. And that's what we need to be doing, and not letting the Democrats set the tone of the argument. We need to win this war, and we need to fix these problems and not kick the ball down the road. We're the party that fixes things. We're the party that comes up with solutions. That's what we need to do, and that's what you need to do with your representatives. Thank you.